Thank you very much, Mr. Mousavi, for your time. Mr. Mousavi, we started this journey of your series of your interview, which started like 6, 7 days ago, from where you put a preposition and you told us what exactly happened with the Sharifs and how they're using a judgment of London High Court for on their purposes, and this is what they did. And then obviously, uh, on in the same interview, you told us so many things that what was on the table and how the people were attracting you and contacting you and what sort of deal was in making and whatever the reasons was and how what response you got back in 2003 and what Musharraf did and what your conversation happened with Musharraf. So this is like kind of a summary of that first interview. Now here we're sitting together once again after 7 days, Mr. Musavi, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan discussed the whole incident, what exactly happened. And that first interview was a newsmaker, and it was the biggest of what happened in Pakistan. And obviously, we able to get the attention of the government of Pakistan, not only, but the opposition. And obviously, the power corridors of Pakistan are talking about this now. So, what happened half an hour ago? The Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, has said on a television channel that they will talk to Mr. Musavi. Mr. Musavi, your first take on that, sir.
I always felt that there's a breath of fresh air with the government of Imran Khan. I could sense it. You know, I've been around. This grey hair should show that I'm experienced, that I've been around for a few years, and you can usually pick up these signals that, at least with intentions, and intentions matter. Um, Having the right intentions is better than not having the right intentions. Being in government in order to serve is better than being in government in order to loot. Um, the evidence I see is the intentions are there to serve. That's the first thing. I came into this 21 years ago with the purpose of serving the people of Pakistan. They deserve better than what they've had over the last 3 generations. I'm sorry that we were unable to do much more because we were sabotaged. But thank you for your efforts and your colleagues in the media. It's a salutary and pleasant lesson to find that the old adage that sunlight is a very good disinfectant is clearly confirmed again. So media exposure and open discussion. And I must confess, but for the exception of Mr. Shahzad Akbar, I've found the response of the government of Pakistan so far a positive one. Shahzad Akbar has been, unfortunately, to my profound disappointment,
But
he's put a spin on things which he knows are not true. If he reads the judgment of Sir Anthony Evans, and he has access to it, it's true that you in the press don't have access to it. It's confidential, but he has. He should not. He should not be making the statements that he
but
does.
now but now the Prime Minister of Pakistan has actually said publicly on the television that the government of Pakistan will contact you officially. So how are you going to proceed with the government of Pakistan? Because you have the capacity, as you said in your previous interviews with me, that you have all the technology and everything after 17 years. And before 17 years, the technology you managed to find some frozen accounts in the world. So after 17 years, where are you standing? So what proposal you have or proposition you have for the government of Pakistan when they contact you? Because now he pledged that and he announced that they're going to contact you.
Well, I'm delighted that an Oxford man is usually defined by the integrity, and I can see that Prime Minister Imran Khan remains an Oxford man, even though it's a long time since we played cricket here. But what I can say is I would need to see the detail, of course, and there would be necessary protocols just to make sure that despite the best intentions of Prime Minister Imran Khan and the best intentions of the secretaries of state and the ministers and the cabinet, there will be sabotage in the administrative machinery for the simple reason that the mafias that run the show to some extent, they have their influence networks and they bribe and they pay, and
Right.
we witnessed it in NAB. We witnessed
Yeah,
when
but
files.
that's fine. So let me put that straight to you that when the government of Pakistan will contact you, obviously they will. So first family or the first politician or the personality you will go after, that would be the Pakistan People's Party. That would be the list of the people they'll give you, or you have your own homework already done.
My own inclination, given the investigation we did, given the Panama Papers, given we saw the sabotage and where it was coming from, it would be the Sharif family. It would be the Sharif Mafia. That would be. I have no hesitation in calling it the Sharif Mafia. The Supreme Court of Pakistan called it that, and so Sir Anthony Evans and I know how Supreme Court judges and senior judges in Britain speak. They are masters of uh, politeness, but you can see the parliamentary language that they use. You can read through it. I would certainly like to, but I make the pledge that I made on day one to the people of Pakistan. My employers are the people of Pakistan. My masters and my bosses are the people of Pakistan, not necessarily the government of Pakistan. I'm delighted that this government exhibits all the signs of wanting to serve as opposed to wanting to rule. It'd be very nice to deal with them as long as we can have certain protective protocols in place so there is no witch hunt. We're not going after only the Sharifs, we're going after anybody and everybody, irrespective of name, position, connection, who has been engaged in the plunder of this country, or as recently I was told by a very senior member who is a supporter of this government, a renowned human rights activist who actually has been in touch with me, and he called it the gang rape of my country by the plutocracy that has been ruling the country. It will be an honor to be a servant of the people of Pakistan once again. This time, given the
It's really
opportunity.
good to hear what you're saying is. But my question is, you already have done your homework. When you say Sharifs, you will go after them. So it means that we'll be talking again about the $1 billion account. So do you have any information about that? So it's intact somewhere in the world. Your private detectives, if you have any, they already have given you any information about that.
We'll be talking on every issue under the sun. We'll be talking about every dollar in every account under the sun. And the sun has a very uncanny habit of throwing light on things. And light is exactly what these people try to run away from. And we'll be doing that. So yes, we have the means, we have the technology, we have the ability, we have the connections. And the world's a very small place. You know, I remember before when we signed this contract with General Musharraf, as he then was, the Swiss banks were a complete black hole. You couldn't do that. The only exception was the Holocaust survivors, who could do it, only just, and the enormity of the crime that had been committed in the Nazi Holocaust was such that even the Swiss had to show some shame and open up. Come 9/11, September 11, the world changed. The United States government, which was one of the biggest obstacles to financial transparency in the world, became one of the most effective, energetic proponents of proactive elements in trying to pursue that. The world's a very different place. You know, you talk to me on WhatsApp. That little WhatsApp gives you the tool for you to know what's going on in the remotest little village in Chile. You can know with a video exactly this second. In this world, the idea that you can hide money is a joke. All
It's
it
a
needs
joke,
is
right? And having said that, uh, because there's a thought in the making, and people are actually floating this thought as well, that the Pakistan needs to hire not only Broadsheet, the companies like Broadsheet, every nook and cranny of the world, and because the Pakistan government has nothing to pay, unlikely what happened during the last 17 years in the Broadsheet case, and obviously what was seen in this case. Obviously, that's an example, but people are thinking, and do you believe in that? Companies like Broadsheet should be hired in every nook and cranny of the world. Wherever there is a money, they can come forward with the details and have negotiations with the government of Pakistan because they don't have to pay. The government doesn't have to pay. It will be the share from that routine money. Your thought on that, sir?
well, to the best of my knowledge, there is no other company on the planet that's willing to do this on the terms that we were willing. We were not charging the government of Pakistan. We were charging the accounts of the thieves. we were not willing, we were not giving invoices, we were not asking for monthly retainers, we were not asking to pay our government of Pakistan to pay our bills. They come with zero cost. We will fund the whole thing. You know, that's one reason, apart from our expertise in this back in 1999, 2000, when we negotiated, the reason why we got the contract was because we said, if we don't find any money, you don't pay us, and we'll take this risk. And we took the risk, and they still able to breach the contract. So yes, we are ready, willing, able, and we put our money where our mouth is. In other words, we fund the whole thing ourselves. So it's at zero cost, zero risk to the government of Pakistan, and will be, as long as they're willing to back us. And I sense, and I confess, and despite all the bad blood between myself and the government of Pakistan over the last 21 years, I sense that this government is serious in its intentions.
And having said that, the last thing, just give me a brief answer on that. There should be a time bar. It should be a time bar that you have to recover the money in a certain time. Because it can't be possible that you take 3 years, what happened in the last time, because we have not much time for this government. Obviously, there will be the complete one tenure, and obviously, if they're re-elected, then what will happen if you couldn't get to what is written in the contract? So what will happen then? Then things will be again in limbo, and we'll be back to square one, because this government has a certain time to complete, and if it's re-elected, then yes, you will be on the same track with the same government in the same terms, but that has to be in a certain period of time.
Well, yes. I mean, what I am going to propose is, and in fact, I did propose this to Shahzad Akbar. I said we can have a rolling whereby we have certain performance criteria. If within the first month I brought in 20 million, then we roll it over. And if we brought in 6 months, I brought in 60 million, we roll it over. So there'll be certain timelines. I am pretty certain, and I say it on camera to the people of Pakistan, I'm pretty certain I will bring in at least $1 billion of stolen money within the period that is reasonable to discuss. We have lost 20 years as a result of the sabotage by the mafiocracy that's been running Pakistan. I am delighted, for the first time I sense we're dealing with a government that has the intention of going after these things. Those are details. I mean, Irfan, the kind of questions you're asking are details. They're not unresolvable. They're not beyond the wit of man to be able to solve those issues. But an obligation of the government is carried on even if the government is changed. I would hate to be chasing the Sharif family if Mr. Sharif comes back, but I gather the Supreme Court is not going to allow him to come back for quite a while, you know. So at least probably not in my lifetime. But these are not insurmountable obstacles. They can be. Where there's a will, they say there's a way.